worried about the star ratings and what I thought of this pay-per-view as far as a rating and all that sort of thing, you can look at that in the description box, because really this is not much to talk about. If I was to talk about the matches, you know, I think Shelton and Christian was definitely the best match. I think, you know, and I think it was kind of interesting that they started off the pay-per-view with that. It was a very good match, in my opinion. Probably about as safe could be for a ladder match in this type of environment. I know a lot of people complain about, you know, them cleaning up the blood, the cut thing, but luckily they came up with a pretty good skate. The teacher did, Stryker did, with the, you know, the Texas Athletic Commission, which there is no such thing. So yeah, so that kind of saved that. But I thought this was a very good match. I thought it was really good. You had Christian, who's been stuck on ECW. You know, I've often said, and I still believe this, I don't think Christian is a legit main eventer, but I do think that he is definitely an upper mid-card guy, and I definitely think he should be on just about every pay-per-view, just because you can stick him in the ring with anybody and make them look good and put on a good match and that sort of thing. And you have Shelton, who's extremely athletic. I'm sure at this point, and people have kind of noticed this, you know, probably just cares about the spots and probably just cares about, you know, doing ladder match, which is what this was. You know, he's probably always going to have a job in WWE just because, as long as they have money in the bank, because they can stick him in there and he can do crazy, wild things, and he'd allow those on this match. But I think when you look at that, and you particularly look at Shelton, and then you look at the next couple of matches, and you look at Drew McIntyre and John Morrison. Drew McIntyre won. Okay, you want to push Drew McIntyre over John Morrison, that's fine. I'm happy with that. I didn't really like the way it ended. I didn't understand why we had the slow cover as opposed to him just jumping on and trying to, you know, that to me was a little odd. But if you want to do that, that's fine. Push him that way. I'm fine with that. We had the women's match, which is actually a pretty good women's match for the WWE, but the title came out of, you know, the end basically came out of nowhere. And really, the fans didn't give two craps about it until it looked like Mickie was going to win. And then they popped, and then she lost, and they didn't care anymore. That should tell the WWE something right there. Then we got what everyone's going to talk about. Juice, the dirty white boy, thought I should just come up here and say, who cares about Sheamus? And I agree with him. Who does? Because the fans sure don't. They kind of proved that tonight that they don't. They were pretty much... They booed him, but I don't think they were booing him for the reasons why they thought. But I do want to talk about this because the WWE did a survey. And in the survey, they figured out, which people have been saying for 5 years now, that they needed new stars. So they decided they were going to create some new stars. Who did they decide to push? Sheamus and Drew McIntyre. That's right. Out of all of the guys that they could have picked, all of the guys that over the last 3 years have gotten over more than both of these guys. Guys that were over, you know, you take Sheamus as an example. Take Sheamus as an example. You know, he's been WWE basically 6 months. Over the last 3 years, you've had guys in 6 months who were mad, far more over than this guy was. He gets the nod. People will wonder why he gets the nod. I'm not going to go into that here because really then it gets into, you know, Triple H bashing. That's not what I really want to do. Fact of the matter is, CM Punk, who got himself over, was on this show in a dark match. Okay, this is a guy that went out there, got himself over every time the WWE basically tried, it looked like, did stupid things with him to the point where he wouldn't be over, and he eventually got himself over. Go back even further. Look at Carlito. Carlito doesn't even give a crap anymore. We all know this. You can tell that watching him. He's just like, I'm just here to get a paycheck. He once did. And you have to think it's frustrating to a guy like him who was crazy over at one point and then basically was told, we're not going to use you like that, and definitely got discouraged, definitely doesn't care, and yet here's a guy who's not nearly as good as he is, and this guy gets this monster push. You have a guy like MVP, who, you know, gets himself over, goes out there, does what they want him to, gets over, same thing happens. You know, eventually the WWE is going to have to learn that when fans say they want new stars, what they mean is they don't want to get into a guy. They don't want a guy to get over with them and then the WWE not care. Not, let's just push a guy to the title like we had tonight. I think it was a bad move because honestly, do you want to see, I mean, this was a gimmick match and it was not even a good match in my opinion. It was okay. Some people might have thought it was at least good, but I would just call it okay. I was bored through a lot of this match, and it was a tables match. You know, should John Cena take some of the blame for that? Probably. But does anybody here want to see Sheamus versus John Cena again? I don't think so. Does anybody want to see Sheamus versus Randy Orton? I don't think anybody wants to see that either. Does anybody think that any of the guys that he could face on Raw anytime soon are going to carry him to a good match to where people are going to want to see him wrestle? That's the thing that the WWE does not get. Is it's not just enough to have a guy who can go out there. You have to also have to want to see him wrestle as well. And I don't think they're going to want to do that with Sheamus. I'm sorry. Yeah, just not probably, just makes you wonder. We had Undertaker versus Batista. Batista finally, Undertaker finally had a subpar match with Batista. It was still okay. It was still nothing great. We had the stupid, end of the match where a stupid double swerve, the swerve at the end was just dumb. Then we had Randy Orton versus Kofi. Kofi, at one point, I would say was much, much, much more over than Sheamus is now. The thing that WWE has to realize, and I think they don't, to this, and I'm hoping that this isn't the case, is Kofi lost. He looked good. They went out there. They had a good match. Randy didn't need to win this match. Kofi could have won it. It would have helped him a lot more, in my opinion. And you would have still been pushing another guy, and a guy who can go out there and have fairly good matches. That's not the only reason why I think he should be pushed, but the guy has the ability to get over, and we've seen that. And I'm hoping they're not giving up on him because he got in this thing with Randy Orton, and as the feud went on, it started dwindling as he never got I think people said, oh, well, it's just the same thing we've always seen, where here's a guy we like, they give him a shot, and then, he's not going to be pushed, and so why should we care? And that's the other thing that WWE has to realize. It's not enough just to push guys, and I think I've said this already, it's not enough just to push guys that are new. You have to push the guys that people actually care about that are new. And when they care about them, you can't wait until the fans don't care about a guy anymore, and then push him and say, well, see, we gave him a push. You waited too long. The fans don't care. You've got in the fans' psyche that why should we care about these guys when you don't care about these guys? Why should we get emotionally invested into these people if you're not going to get emotionally invested if you're not going to allow us to get emotionally invested in them? It's craziness like this that just amazes me. Then we got Chris Jericho and Big Show taking on DX. DX won. Big surprise. Hopefully, I'm hoping Chris Jericho and Big Show can win the titles back, because really, does DX need them? I mean, really, what? I don't, there's a part of me, there's that Triple H hater part of me that thinks this whole thing of making the titles actually mean something again, putting them on Chris Jericho and Big Show, trying to make the titles mean something, was just to have DX win the titles and titles mean something, and they can say, see, we are the ones that brought back the WWE tag titles. I hope that's not the case, because Chris Jericho and Big Show have done such a wonderful job with them, and I do hope that they win them back, because Raw without Chris Jericho means I'm not watching Raw at all. I don't like Raw. It's hard for me to watch Raw. Chris Jericho is one of those things that I actually like watching, but I'm sure there's a lot of people that are going to love this pay-per-view. I'm sure there's a lot of people that are going to gripe or not gripe, but are going to be happy that John Cena lost. But so what if he lost? Did he lose to a guy that you wanted him to lose to, or are you just happy that he lost? I've seen people say, oh, why are so many people upset. They're upset just because it wasn't the guy we wanted. That's part of it. But it's a guy that nobody really cares about, and it's a guy that people go, well, wait a minute, what about all these other guys who are far more... I mean, the fans can see that. The fans can go, why is this guy winning over these people? I think even I shouldn't say non-smart, because I think most fans are fairly smart nowadays. But the internet fans come look and go, why is this guy getting a push over this guy? What about these people that we actually cheer for? What about these people we actually like? What about these people who, I think even they can go, that I want to see in a match. It still comes down to that. How many of you do you want to see in a match, and is the match going to be good, or are you willing to, care about sitting there for 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes to watch this guy wrestle and get into it? This probably isn't the best video in the world for this, but really, this pay-per-view did nothing for me. It left me very just like, who cares? Because it was on one hand, it was everything that I think fans wanted. On the other, but it's really not what they wanted. It was kind of like, it's like the WWE said, oh, this is what the fans want, but we're still going to do what we want to do. They're not realizing that they have to change the way they do things. They have to, change the way they push guys, who they push, why they push them, all of that. It's very frustrating. It was very frustrating for me to watch this pay-per-view, particularly after the Sheamus thing, because it just made me just go, wow, really? I mean, really? Is this because I'm serious. I don't want to see, not even on Raw, I don't want to see Sheamus and Randy Orton. I don't want to see Sheamus versus John Cena. I don't want to see Randy Orton versus John Cena again. I literally want to see, updated matchups, which means that you can't just push one guy. You need to push really like two guys. And so far we're only getting really one guy getting pushed, it seems. Maybe Kofi will continue getting pushed. Maybe, they just decided, well, we need to keep, Randy hot. Maybe. That's what I'm hoping. I don't know. But I know this. This I don't think is what the fans wanted. And I know that sounds like, oh, well, see, fans are never excited or never happy because this is what the fans said they wanted. Not really. This is like half of what the fans wanted. But the other half isn't. And what the fans wanted was not this. Yes, the fans wanted somebody to, a new star, but they wanted a new star that they liked. And they wanted a new star they could get behind. They wanted somebody who they felt, deserved a shot. And some people will say, well, those are only faces. I don't necessarily agree with that, though in some regards, every top guy in the WWE, every top guy could be heel. Every top guy. So you could push nothing but faces, and it would be fine for that sake. But you can't sit here and tell me that Sheamus is, an uber over heel. I don't think he is. I think he's just the guy that people are like, who's this guy? Maybe that's just me. Maybe it is. Maybe I'm just completely out of it. But I don't think this was the guy people were thinking of. I don't think this was the type of situation people were thinking of when they said, yes, there needs to be new stars. Yes, there needs to be new main eventers. This isn't necessarily what I think they were thinking of. But what do I know? Anyways, that's just my little rant. Like I said, I know it's not the best thing in the world. But really, this just left me very just like, eh. But anyways. There will be another video up tonight. Oh yes, because there's something else I'm going to do while this is uploading. Because really, this pay-per-view does not deserve your time. And one thing I will say, people always think that I want to see TNA die. I don't want to see TNA die. And here's why I don't want to see TNA die. One thing I would love to see TNA do, because I don't think TNA is ever going to be financially able to go head-to-head with WWE financially, but I would love to see them do good so that they were an alternative for some of the guys in the WWE. So some of these guys the WWE has basically missed on, refuses to push, guys like Carlito, who are just, there and don't want to be there and want to make a living wrestling, but are like, this is the only place I can do it. I'd love to see those guys to be able to go to TNA, and I'd love to be able to basically TNA, because I think that's the one way TNA can actually be competitive and get to the point where they're competitive, is take guys who the WWE has missed on, much the same way the WWE did that with WCW. Take guys that they missed on, take guys that they didn't think had the talent, take those type of guys, let them go to TNA and give them a chance to show what they can do. I would love to see that. I really think that is the one thing that signing, if RVD comes in, that is a great thing for TNA. When I first came on here, I talked about the fact that I thought one of the dumbest things TNA did was not sign Chris Jericho when they had a chance to. Yes, he wanted a lot of money. Who cares? I think that would have sent a message to the fans of that's where the wrestlers want to be, and if that's where the wrestlers want to be, then that's where we want to be. There's a whole psychological thing when it comes to that, and I think that was a huge mistake. I think it was a huge missed opportunity. I think bringing in Rob Van Dam could help with that, but then you have to keep bringing in guys that wrestling fans like seeing, that the WWE is never going to push, is never going to give the spotlight to, who the fans want to. I think that's one of the things TNA has to do. I think they tried that to an extent with Christian, but as I've said, I don't think Christian was the right guy for that. Chris Jericho, yes. Rob Van Dam, yes. Could Carlito be like that guy? Maybe so. You could say CM Punk. CM Punk will probably get a shot down the road again. And will probably, and is still considered an upper mid card guy. He'll probably get another shot at the title and a main eventer again. But a guy like that, guys that definitely, there's a pretty good list. MVP. There's a whole list of guys I think the WWE just, for whatever reason, doesn't have faith in, or just doesn't care about for whatever reason. And I think if TNA could do that, that would give them a shot. I think that would give them a better shot than a lot of the other things they've done. And, whatever. But anyways, with that, I'm out. Sorry about the video. Sorry if you didn't like the video. But, hey, like I said, this was one of those pay-per-views that just made me go, eh. But I'm out. Later.